there, welcome back. I'm really glad you're here today because we're exploring something that can truly change the way you approach conversations, especially those tricky text messages. Picture this. You're texting someone you really like, and every word you type somehow makes her more drawn to you. That might sound like a bit of a fantasy, but there's a method to this magic. When you align your words with calm confidence and a touch of genuine intrigue, you naturally create a space that draws people in. And the best part, it's all rooted in being true to yourself. Today, we're going to talk about 7 different types of texts that can make her chase you without you even realizing it. But don't get me wrong, this isn't about playing games or manipulating anybody. It's about fostering an authentic connection by tapping into principles of Stoic philosophy. Why Stoicism? Because at its heart, Stoicism is about self-control, wisdom, and acting in harmony with your true nature. When you approach texting or any form of communication from a place of genuine calm and self-assurance, you send out an energy that people can't help but respond to. Before we jump into the specifics, I'd really appreciate it if you liked this video. Your support helps me keep sharing these ideas and spreading that timeless wisdom that can be applied to modern life. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and activate the bell, because you definitely don't want to miss the upcoming videos where we delve deeper into life, connection, and how Stoic principles can guide us to live more fulfilling lives. Now let's face it, texting can be both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it's never been easier to connect with someone, anytime, anywhere. On the other hand, we've all had that moment of dread. Typing a message, rewriting it 4 times, hitting send, then overthinking every second we wait for a reply. We wonder if we sound too desperate, too detached, too boring, or too intense. It's a tightrope act, trying to express interest without seeming needy, or trying to be laid back without coming across as indifferent. That's exactly why I want to share these 7 text types. Each one is designed to shift the balance in your favor by sparking genuine curiosity, warmth, and interest. They're grounded in sincerity, so you don't have to worry about feeling like you're putting on an act. Instead, you'll be embracing a calm mindset that draws from Stoic wisdom, acknowledging what's in your control, your own actions, words, tone, and letting go of what isn't, her immediate reaction or the timing of her responses. This psychological approach can drastically change how you feel about texting, because you'll realize you never had to force anything. Real connection flows when you bring your authentic self into each message. Think back to the best conversations you've ever had. Maybe they were with a close friend, a romantic partner, or someone who just got you on a deeper level. Chances are, those conversations felt effortless. You didn't have to scramble for words or worry if you were being interesting enough. There was a natural ebb and flow, a sharing of thoughts, and an underlying sense of mutual respect and curiosity. Our goal here is to bring that spirit into your texts with her. So how do we do that? First, we acknowledge that our intent matters more than we might think. When you're texting from a place of calm confidence, you're basically saying, "I know who I am, and I value genuine connection." You stop chasing approval in your messages. You stop feeling like you need to impress her with grand gestures or witty one-liners. Instead, you let your natural charm and thoughtfulness shine through. That doesn't mean you can't be playful or tease a bit. That can be great fun, but it comes from a centered place, not a frantic need for validation. Second, we integrate some of the Stoic perspective. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what's in our control. You can't dictate how quickly she responds or what mood she might be in when she reads your text, but you can control the clarity and warmth of what you send. You can control whether you're being genuine or just trying to put on a show. And you can definitely control whether you're texting from a place of calm, self-assuredness or from insecurity. That's why we'll explore each of these 7 text types. Each one highlights a different dimension of human connection. One might lean on the power of nostalgia and laughter, another on the subtle art of mystery, and yet another on offering genuine care. Together, these messages cover a spectrum of emotional tones that, when used naturally, can lead to conversations that feel real, inviting, and compelling. As we explore each one, I'll share examples that you can adapt to your own style. The point isn't to copy and paste, but to understand the principle behind why each text works so well. We'll also talk about pitfalls, because yes, it's possible to overdo these. If you try to force them or send too many messages in a row, you risk looking insincere. That's why authenticity and timing are crucial. And we'll include a little question for you each time, because I want to hear your experiences, and I want you to reflect on how these approaches resonate with your own life. By the end of this video, you'll see that texting doesn't have to be a source of anxiety or second-guessing. It can actually be an extension of your true self, a way to cultivate deeper connections without feeling like you're walking on eggshells. The shift happens when you stop chasing, and instead, you start leading with calm, genuine interest. Ironically, that's what often makes the other person lean in and chase you back. It's the beauty of reciprocity. People are drawn to those who exude genuine confidence and warmth. So, let's begin this journey together. I know you're ready for a breakthrough in how you communicate. Let's drop the old habits of sending basic texts that fall flat or overthinking every punctuation mark. Instead, let's embrace these 7 text types with an open mind and the spirit of stoic calm. I promise you, once you start applying these ideas, you'll notice how your interactions become more fluid, engaging, and even fun. Now, without further ado, let's get into our first type of text, a message that reconnects you both to a memorable conversation you shared. Get comfortable, maybe grab a cup of tea, and let's discover how referencing a great conversation can set the tone for deeper engagement. Remembering a great conversation. All right, let's jump right into our very first text idea. Sometimes what really draws someone closer isn't a flashy joke or an over-the-top compliment. It's simply showing that you remember and value the conversations you've had. Picture this scenario. You're sitting at your desk, maybe the sun's just peeking through the window, and you find yourself thinking about something insightful she mentioned last time you talked. In that moment, you decide to send a text like, "Hey, I was just thinking about our chat the other day. Your perspective really made me see things in a new light." On the surface, it sounds simple, right? But don't underestimate its impact. This text works because it does a few key things all at once. First, it shows you're genuinely paying attention. In our world of distractions, where it's all too easy to skim or forget, someone who remembers the details of a conversation stands out. Second, you're validating her by acknowledging that her opinion or story had enough weight to stick in your mind. And third, you're reopening the door to that conversation in a gentle way, inviting her to either elaborate on what she said or to spark a new angle on the topic. Why does this resonate psychologically? Well, we all like to feel heard and appreciated. Think about it. Have you ever had someone unexpectedly recall something you mentioned days or even weeks earlier? It feels really good. It's a subtle form of praise that says, "You matter, and I was truly listening." That's exactly why referencing a great conversation can be so effective. You're showing her you're not just skimming the surface with empty small talk. Now there's a fine line here. While referencing a good conversation is great, you don't want to bombard her with every single detail. Overdoing it can make you seem like you've been obsessing, which can be off-putting. Instead, keep it light. You might mention one specific insight she shared or a question she asked that made you think differently. For example, you could say something like, "You know, I've been trying that advice you gave me about staying calm in stressful situations. It's surprisingly helpful. I should thank you for that." Another thing to remember is timing. If you go days or weeks without any contact, then suddenly reference a conversation out of the blue, it can come off as a bit random. There's nothing inherently wrong with that if the memory popped into your mind organically, but try to keep the momentum going in a natural way. Maybe you wait a day or two to reflect on what she said, then drop her a line. That way it feels timely and relevant rather than abrupt. What should you avoid specifically? One common mistake is to over-explain why you found her insight so interesting. Instead of writing a novel, just give her a snippet that invites her to explore the topic further if she wants to. For instance, instead of sending 3 paragraphs dissecting every angle of what she said, you might say something short and sweet like, "I've been thinking about what you mentioned regarding that new book you're reading. I checked out a summary and it's fascinating. Any other recommendations?" You're acknowledging her contribution while leaving room for her to lead the conversation forward. I want to ask you this. When was the last time someone reminded you of something you said that really mattered to you? How did it make you feel? Think about that moment for a second. Did it make you smile, stand up a little straighter, or feel a jolt of appreciation? If it did, that's the same kind of feeling you're channeling here. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had a conversation that lingered in your mind, and maybe share what made it so impactful. Stoicism, at its core, teaches us to be fully present in whatever we do. Applying that principle to our conversations means genuinely focusing on what's being said rather than just waiting for our turn to talk. When you remember a great conversation, you're practicing mindful listening, a skill that's becoming rarer in our fast-paced digital era. By sending a text that shows you've been listening and that you're reflecting on what was shared, you demonstrate a level of presence and respect that's undeniably attractive. Also, referencing a great conversation signals that you're comfortable discussing topics that have depth. You're not just here for small talk or to pass the time. You value meaningful discussions and you're open to learning or gaining new insights. This can be quite refreshing, as many people crave deeper connections but often end up stuck in surface-level chatter. It's like you're saying, "Hey, I see you as someone whose thoughts matter to me. Let's keep exploring together." Some people worry about appearing too serious or deep in text messages, but trust me, when done with a light, genuine tone, it's a breath of fresh air. We often get bombarded with messages that read, "Sup?" or "How's it going?" which can feel generic. By referencing a previous conversation and valuing it, you stand out from the crowd. You're showing that you care about real dialogue, not just fleeting banter. Now let's say you send that text. Maybe referencing something about her day job that she mentioned, or her perspective on a topic that interests both of you. If she responds positively, great. Follow her lead and let the conversation flow. If she doesn't respond right away, don't fret. Sometimes people are busy or need a moment to gather their thoughts. Remember that Stoic principle. You can't control her response time, but you can control the quality and intent of your message. And your intent here is pure, to acknowledge her thoughts and invite her to continue sharing. By adopting this approach, you're practicing a form of mindful, thoughtful communication. It's not about hooking her with some fancy line. It's about genuinely engaging with her mind and heart. That is what often leads to a deeper sense of connection, and yes, the feeling that she wants to chase you a bit to keep enjoying that level of meaningful interaction. So next time you recall something interesting she said, maybe an anecdote about her recent travels, a unique perspective on a current event, or even just a quirky observation about life, take the plunge. Send her a text that reopens that door. Say something like, "I can't stop thinking about how you described that small cafe you visited. It sounds like a hidden gem. How'd you even discover it?" You're inviting her to share more, letting her know you value her experiences and viewpoints. And trust me, that simple act of remembrance can work wonders in making her feel acknowledged and eager to keep the conversation going. All right, that's our first text type. Referencing a memorable conversation to show genuine attentiveness. Let's keep the momentum rolling and move on to something that can be equally powerful, sharing a laugh. Humor is a universal connector, and we'll explore exactly how to use it in a way that keeps things fun and genuine rather than forced. Let's hop right into it, sharing a laugh together. Before we explore the next section, let me just say this. Life gets heavy sometimes. We all have responsibilities, deadlines, and unexpected challenges that pop up out of nowhere. In the midst of that, laughter can feel like a lifesaver, a momentary escape that lifts the weight off our shoulders. When you share a laugh with someone, even if it's just through text, you create a little pocket of joy in the day, and that's not only good for you, but it can also make her feel a magnetic pull toward you. Now, how do you spark that mutual laughter over text? It starts with remembering or creating funny moments that actually resonate with both of you. For instance, if you recall a time when you both laughed uncontrollably, maybe at a silly meme, a hilarious misunderstanding, or a random inside joke, that's your golden ticket. Sending her a text like, "I still crack up when I remember how we nearly fell off our chairs laughing about that ridiculous commercial. Any new hilarious ads you've come across lately," is a great way to rekindle that shared joy. Why does this work so effectively? From a psychological standpoint, humor triggers the release of endorphins, those wonderful chemicals that make us feel good. When you remind her of a time you laughed together, you're helping her relive that positive feeling. And because she associates that feeling with you, it deepens the sense of connection. It's almost like you're saying, "Remember that spark we had? Let's feel it again." And if you do it sincerely, without forcing jokes you're not actually fond of, she'll pick up on that authenticity. Now you might be thinking, what if I don't have a shared funny memory yet because we just started talking? That's okay. You can still create opportunities for laughter by referencing something humorous that happened in your day, or sharing a short, funny anecdote about something that really happened to you. For example, you might text, "I just witnessed a squirrel ninja leap onto my balcony and knock over my plant. Guess I'm hiring him for my next stunt show. How's your day going?" It's playful, it's real, and it invites her to respond in kind. You're offering a light-hearted moment she can engage with. One thing to be mindful of is the difference between teasing that's genuinely playful and teasing that can come off as mean. Light-hearted banter can be great if you have established a rapport where you both understand the boundaries. But if you're not sure about her sense of humor yet, start with something universally funny or a story that paints you in a slightly goofy light. Self-deprecating humor, when used sparingly, can show humility and invite empathy. Just don't overdo it or make yourself look pitiful. Balance is key. Speaking of balance, we also need to talk about what not to do. Sarcasm and overly dark humor can be risky in text form. There's no vocal tone or facial expression to soften the blow. If you're sarcastic, it might get misinterpreted, especially if she doesn't know you well. Another pitfall is flooding her phone with jokes and memes non-stop. Sure, laughter is great, but if it feels forced or excessive, it loses its charm. A well-timed bit of humor can be far more powerful than an onslaught of random jokes. I'm curious, has there ever been a time when a single funny text or meme from someone turned your entire day around? If so, drop that experience in the comments. Maybe it was a friend who knew exactly what to say, or a silly GIF that made you laugh out loud in the middle of a stressful day. Sharing these stories reminds us all that humor, even in small doses, can have a surprisingly big impact on our mood and relationships. From a Stoic perspective, you might wonder how laughter ties into a philosophy that's often stereotyped as serious or stern. But Stoicism isn't about banishing joy. It's about finding equanimity and balance. Marcus Aurelius himself wrote about the importance of recognizing humor in life's ups and downs, acknowledging that a light heart can coexist with a steady mind. In texting, when you share a genuinely funny moment, you're engaging in a form of emotional intelligence. You're acknowledging that amidst all the chaos and challenges of life, a bit of laughter can bring people closer and lighten the load, even if just for a moment. Now, if you're looking to craft a text that references a funny memory, keep it simple. Something like, "Remember how we both burst out laughing at that waiter who kept mixing up our orders? I wonder if he ever got it straight." Made for a hilarious night, though. This shows you cherish those spontaneous moments of joy you shared. If you want to create a new funny moment, maybe send her a playful challenge or an amusing observation about your day that she can comment on. The key is to remain genuine. Only share what actually amuses you, so your laughter is real. Also, timing can elevate the impact. If you know she's had a tough day, dropping in with a little levity can mean the world. But if it's 3 a.m. and she has work at 8, maybe hold off on that comedic masterpiece until a more reasonable hour. Being mindful of her schedule and your own shows respect. It's another subtle way of saying, "I'm thinking about you, and I also care about your well-being." Ultimately, sharing a laugh isn't just about being the funny guy or trying to prove you have a sense of humor. It's about creating a moment of shared positivity. When two people share a genuine belly laugh, it's like you're on the same wavelength, even if just for a few seconds. In text form, it might not be as powerful as an in-person giggle, but it still fosters that sense of unity. And that, my friend, is a big step in making someone want to continue talking to you. All right, so we've covered the joys of referencing a funny memory or sparking a new moment of hilarity. Next up, we're going to look at the power of mystery. Sometimes what pulls people in is not what you reveal, but what you hint at. Get ready, because a dash of intrigue can transform a predictable text conversation into something a bit more thrilling. Let's explore that now. A little mystery to spark curiosity. Before we step into the land of intrigue, I want you to imagine a scene for a moment. Think about your favorite mystery movie or book. Maybe it's a detective story with an unsolved crime, or perhaps it's a fantasy tale where the hero is searching for hidden treasure. What keeps you glued to the screen or turning the pages? The unanswered questions, right? The hints and clues that leave you dying to figure out what happens next. That sense of curiosity is incredibly powerful, and you can harness a bit of that in your texts. Now, obviously, you don't want your conversation to feel like a cryptic puzzle, but a light sprinkle of mystery can work wonders in keeping her intrigued. For example, you might text, "I came across something today that totally reminded me of you. Guess what it was?" Notice how this message does two things. It hints that you saw something that made you think of her, and it asks her to guess. You haven't given away the answer, so she'll naturally wonder, what on earth did he see that connects to me? Psychologically, curiosity is a motivator. Our brains love to solve puzzles, especially if the puzzle is about us or something we're personally connected to. By asking her to guess, you're inviting her to be part of the discovery. Even if she doesn't guess correctly, she'll likely respond with something like, "What was it?" And then, when you reveal it, ideally something light and fun, she'll feel a sense of satisfaction and closeness because she's involved in the conversation. One caution: don't make the mystery so vague or so complex that she's left more confused than intrigued. For example, sending a text like, "I discovered the secret to eternal happiness today," might sound interesting, but if you don't follow it up with something that ties back to her or your connection, it can feel disconnected. Also, if you drop a mysterious hint and she asks for an explanation, don't drag it out forever. The key is to find the sweet spot between too little detail and too much detail. Let's say you sent that initial mysterious text, something about seeing something that reminded you of her. Once she responds, you might say, "I saw this little artisan shop selling handmade jewelry, and it was like the style you were describing at the coffee shop last week. Made me think of you and your unique taste." That's the reveal. It's something personal, something connected to a memory or preference she mentioned, and it shows you listen carefully. Now she's likely to be flattered that you not only remember her interests, but also took the time to tie them back in a playful, mysterious way. I want to hear from you. Can you recall a time someone gave you just enough information to pique your curiosity, but not so much that you felt overwhelmed? Maybe it was a friend texting you, "I have great news, you won't believe what happened today," and you immediately had to find out. Share your stories in the comments. It's fun to see how a dash of mystery can bring out our inquisitive side. Now, from a Stoic perspective, you might wonder where mystery fits in. After all, Stoicism teaches us to be clear-headed and grounded in truth. But being grounded in truth doesn't mean you can't have fun or build anticipation. You're not deceiving anyone. You're simply creating an engaging atmosphere. The Stoic approach is about maintaining authenticity and composure while navigating the highs and lows of life. So, if you're sincere in your intrigue and you're not leading her on with false promises, then a bit of mystery can be a delightful enhancement to your conversation. Another example of adding mystery might be something like, "You'll never guess who I bumped into today. It had me thinking about our last conversation." If you know she has a friend or co-worker you randomly encountered, referencing it in a playful way can pique her interest. The conversation then naturally unfolds as she tries to guess or urges you to spill the details. What you want to avoid is sending cryptic texts that might cause unnecessary worry or confusion. If your text is too ambiguous, like "something big just happened," without any context, you might trigger concern rather than curiosity. You want the vibe to be positive and playful, not alarming. Also, make sure the mystery text eventually leads somewhere. Don't just drop a hint and then vanish, leaving her hanging indefinitely. That can feel more frustrating than fun. Timing can also amplify the effect of mystery. If you send a text in the middle of the day, when she's likely busy, keep it brief so she doesn't feel pressured to solve a complex puzzle on her lunch break. If you're texting later in the evening, maybe you can draw it out a bit more, giving her a moment to engage fully. Pay attention to her responses. If she's quick and playful, you can keep the playful vibe going. If she seems short or busy, wrap it up more quickly and save the elaborate story for another time. Ultimately, adding a splash of mystery is about igniting that sense of, "I wonder what this is all about." It keeps conversations interesting and reminds us that there's always more to discover about each other and the world around us. In a culture of instant gratification and constant transparency, leaving a little room for guessing can be refreshing. It shows confidence too, because you're not rushing to over-explain yourself. You trust that a bit of intrigue will naturally bring her closer. Once you've unveiled the secret or answered her questions, enjoy the moment. Laugh about it, discuss the details, or even make plans related to it. If you told her you found a quirky cafe that reminded you of her, invite her to explore it with you sometime. If you discovered an odd piece of art you think she'd like, suggest a future outing to check out similar pieces. This way, the mystery text becomes a stepping stone to deeper connection in real life. All right, that's how a little bit of mystery can open the door to a more engaging text conversation. Next up, we're going to explore a text that's all about genuine care, something that can really set you apart in a world where people often rush through interactions. Let's jump into that now, checking in with genuine care. Before we get into this next section, let me ask you something. When was the last time you received a text that felt like a genuine check-in on your well-being rather than just another random, "Hey, what's up?" We live in a time where messages often feel quick and transactional. That's why a sincere check-in can stand out like a warm light on a cold day. Imagine sending her a text along the lines of, "Hey, I was thinking about you earlier. How's your day going? Anything on your mind?" It might sound simple, but trust me, the impact can be huge if it's coming from a real place of concern. You're not just asking how she is because it's a routine greeting. You're asking because you actually care. That sense of authenticity can be felt on the other end, believe me. Why is this so psychologically effective? Because we all want to feel like someone genuinely notices and values us. When you take the time to see how she's doing, especially if you know she's been busy, stressed, or dealing with something important, you're showing emotional support. Even if she's having a great day, it'll still feel good to see that someone is checking in, just to connect on a personal level, not to get something from her. However, there's a balance between showing care and becoming overbearing. You don't want to send daily "how are you" messages if she's not reciprocating. That can shift from sweet to smothering. The key is to pick your moments. Maybe you know she had an important meeting or was anxious about a family event. Sending a heartfelt, well-timed check-in can be incredibly meaningful. Also, be sure to avoid piling multiple concerned texts one after another if she doesn't respond right away. Give her the space to answer at her own pace. You might say something like, "I remember you mentioned you've got that big presentation this week. Hope you're doing okay. No pressure to respond right away. Just wanted you to know I'm rooting for you." Notice how you acknowledge the situation, express your care, and simultaneously respect her schedule. That kind of text says, "I'm here if you need me, but I'm not demanding your time. I'd love to hear from you. Can you recall a moment when someone's genuine check-in brightened your day? Drop it in the comments. Sometimes a single text can shift our perspective or remind us we're not alone, and sharing those moments can inspire others to be a bit more caring in their own interactions. Now, how does Stoicism tie in here? Stoicism emphasizes the understanding that while we can't control what happens around us, we can control how we respond. Offering a supportive ear or a compassionate text is a choice that aligns with the Stoic idea of virtuous action. You're not trying to fix all her problems or control her emotions. You're simply being present, letting her know she isn't walking her journey all by herself. This expression of empathy is grounded in respect for her autonomy, which is exactly the kind of thoughtful approach Stoicism would encourage. Of course, some people worry that checking in might make them look too vulnerable or too attached. But consider this. Being caring doesn't mean you're needy. It's all about your mindset. If you're anxiously waiting for her to respond so you can feel validated, that's a different story. But if you're calmly extending a friendly concern because you respect and value her well-being, that's confidence, that's strength, that's something truly attractive. Another tip is to follow up the check-in with something positive or uplifting. If you're asking how her day went, maybe share a short anecdote from your own day as well, especially if it's something that can offer a little laughter or encouragement. For example, "How did your meeting go? I'm rooting for you. By the way, I tried cooking that new recipe you told me about. It was a minor disaster, but at least it smelled good. I'll need your expertise next time." This way, you're blending care with a personal story, making the conversation feel more reciprocal. What you want to avoid is turning her response into a one-sided vent session where you hijack the conversation for your own issues. You've reached out to check on her, so give her the space to talk about her day if she wants to. If she flips the question back on you, then sure, share a bit about how you're doing, but remember the initial focus is on her well-being. That's how you maintain that gentle sense of genuine care. Sometimes, people might be taken aback by real concern if they're used to surface-level interactions. She could respond with something like, "Oh, wow, thanks for remembering. I'm doing okay, just a bit stressed." That's your cue to respond in a supportive manner, maybe offering a word of encouragement or letting her know that stress is normal and she's doing a great job handling things. You don't have to play therapist, just let her know you believe in her. That simple assurance can mean a lot. If she doesn't open up much, don't push. Remember, you can't force someone to share if they're not comfortable yet. A warm check-in text can sow the seed that you're someone who genuinely cares. Over time, she might feel more at ease confiding in you, knowing that you won't judge her or take advantage of her vulnerability. Patience is a big part of showing genuine care. Also, sometimes she might reciprocate by asking how you're doing in return. When that happens, be honest, but keep a positive tone if possible. You don't want to turn the conversation into a downer unless you genuinely need to talk about something serious. Stoicism teaches us to maintain a balanced view of our struggles, acknowledging them without letting them completely define our outlook. So you might say, I've been juggling a lot of work, but I'm focusing on what I can control. It's challenging, but I'm trying to keep a positive mindset. This shows that you also have your challenges, yet you approach them with composure. In a world of shallow interactions, a well-placed message that shows real care can set you miles apart. It's that contrast between "what's up" and "I hope you're doing well." Anything on your mind? That can make her think, wow, this person is different. And once she feels that difference, you'll notice a shift in how she engages with you. She might be more open, more honest, and more eager to keep the conversation going, because deep down, everyone wants to feel seen, heard, and supported. All right, that covers our thorough exploration into the power of genuine check-ins. Coming up next, we're going to talk about injecting a little playful challenge into your texts. Think of it as a fun way to pique her interest and show that you're confident enough to invite a bit of friendly competition or curiosity. Let's explore that next. A playful challenge to ignite excitement. Let's take a breather for a moment and imagine this scenario. You're chatting with someone and everything is going fine, but it's a bit routine. You ask each other about your days, share a few updates, and that's about it. No real spark or jolt of excitement. Sometimes, all it takes is a small, playful challenge to shift the conversation from "okay" to "oh, this is interesting." So, what does a playful challenge look like in text form? It can be something as simple as, "I bet you can't guess what fun plan I have in store for this weekend." This statement implies that you have something intriguing going on, but it also dares her to try and figure it out. The message says, "There's something exciting happening, and I'm confident enough to let you in on it, if you can guess." Notice how this automatically pulls her in. She might respond with, "Oh, is it something outdoorsy? Something adventurous?" And just like that, you've created a mini game within your conversation. Why is this effective? Well, from a psychological standpoint, challenges engage our curiosity and competitive spirit. Even if we're not super competitive in real life, a low-stakes challenge like guessing a fun weekend plan can be a delightful spark. It breaks the monotony of typical "how are you" texts and invites a sense of play. And when you're playful, you're showing that you're not overly stiff or uptight, that you can introduce a dash of light-hearted fun into any interaction. But there's a nuance to be mindful of. You don't want to come across as condescending or like you're testing her. For instance, a text like, "Bet you can't figure out the puzzle I solved in under a minute" might sound a bit arrogant or trivial. Instead, focus on the shared experience. You might say something like, "I'm planning something epic this weekend that's totally our vibe. Any guesses what it might be?" Notice the "our vibe" part. That suggests you're doing something that aligns with both your interests, subtly inviting her into that world. Also, keep the challenge light. If she's not guessing or showing interest, don't push it. You can reveal the plan and keep the conversation flowing without making her feel like she failed. Maybe she responds with, "I'm bad at guessing, you'll have to spill the beans." That's cool. Laugh it off and say, "Fair enough. I'm checking out that new escape room downtown. Heard it's crazy challenging, right up our alley if you ever want to team up." Now, not only have you introduced a playful element, you've also hinted at a potential future hangout. Have you ever tried a playful challenge in your own texts? Maybe it was something like, "I've got a secret about where we could get the best pizza in town. Guess which place it is?" If you have, let me know how it went in the comments. Did it bring a smile to her face or spark a fun back-and-forth conversation? These little moments can sometimes lead to bigger discoveries about each other's interests and personalities. From a Stoic perspective, introducing playfulness isn't contradictory. Stoicism is about composure and wisdom, sure, But it doesn't mean you have to be stoic in the modern sense of the word, which people often mistake for emotionless. The ancient Stoics appreciated the richness of human experience, including moments of levity. A well-placed challenge can be a form of mindful engagement, where you're present in the moment and fostering a positive emotional exchange. One thing to avoid is making the challenge too personal or high stakes. You're not challenging her to prove her knowledge about something that might make her uncomfortable. Keep it fun, keep it light. For example, you could say, "I tried a new recipe tonight and it turned out wild. Guess which ingredient I used that I've never tried before?" This frames the challenge around your own experience, with zero pressure on her to reveal anything she might be self-conscious about. When you set a playful tone, you also give her permission to be a bit playful back. She might respond with her own mini-challenge or tease you about your culinary skills. This playful banter can bring you closer, as it mirrors the kind of joking around that happens in person among people who are comfortable with each other. It breaks down the formalities and shows that you're not just texting to check a box. You're texting because you genuinely enjoy the dynamic you share. Another angle is to challenge her opinions in a friendly way. For instance, if she's a big fan of a certain movie genre, you might playfully say, "I challenge you to find a rom-com that can make me laugh harder than name of a comedic movie you love. Are you up for it?" This invites her to either accept the challenge or recommend something else, sparking a conversation around movies, humor, and personal tastes. Just make sure you keep it respectful. No mocking her tastes, even in jest, unless you already have that kind of rapport. Also, be mindful of the frequency of these challenges. If every text you send is some kind of dare or guess what scenario, it could become tiresome. Variety is the spice of life, right? So maybe one day you check in about her day, another day you share a funny memory, and then on a different day you spring a little challenge on her. This keeps your conversations dynamic and ensures that each text feels fresh, not formulaic. And if she happens to meet your challenge, give her the win. Celebrate that moment with a playful, "You nailed it," or "Okay, you got me, guess I owe you a coffee now." That sense of rewarding her success can lead to more fun interactions down the line. It's a little mini-adventure in text form, where both of you can feel like you're stepping out of the mundane and into something a bit more lively. All right, so we've covered how a playful challenge can add zest to your chats, making them more engaging and memorable. Next on our list is the art of giving genuine compliments. Another powerful way to show that you appreciate her as a unique individual. Let's head there now and discover how to make your compliments really shine. Before we get into the compliments, let me set the stage. We live in a time where compliments can often feel fake or forced, especially online. Think about all those generic one-liners like, "You're so pretty," or "You look hot." Sure, they might seem nice at a glance, but they're so broad that they don't really land with any impact. A genuine compliment, on the other hand, is like a little spotlight on something that truly sets a person apart. So what exactly does a genuine compliment look like in a text? It's something specific, heartfelt, and tied to a real observation. For instance, you might say, "I was looking at that photo you posted at the art gallery." You have this way of looking at paintings that's so full of quiet excitement. It's contagious. Notice how that's a lot more interesting than just, "You look nice." It comments on her expression, her vibe, the feeling she exudes when she's engaged in something she loves. Why is specificity so powerful? Because it shows you were paying real attention. When she reads your compliment, she'll think, "Wow, he actually noticed that detail about me." Generic compliments can come from anyone, but a specific compliment can only come from someone who really observed and cared. That's what makes it stand out, and that's often what sparks that warm feeling inside. I want you to think back. Have you ever received a compliment that really stuck with you for months or even years? Chances are it was something that spoke directly to who you are or what you're passionate about. Maybe someone praised your laugh, saying it brightens up a room, or complimented your knack for storytelling. It felt unique to you, right? That's the effect you're aiming for when you dish out genuine compliments in your texts. Now be careful not to overdo it. If you're sending her paragraphs of praise every day, it might start to feel insincere or overwhelming. A well-timed compliment, dropped in a moment when it's truly relevant, can have far more impact than a barrage of flattery. For example, if she shares a picture of herself hiking a trail, and you know she's been working hard to stay active, you might say, "That trail looks intense, and you look so alive tackling it. Your dedication is awesome. It's inspiring me to get out there and explore more." You're acknowledging both her activity and the vitality she radiates. It's not just about her appearance, it's about her spirit. Avoid compliments that might come off as too personal or invasive if you're not at that level of comfort yet. For instance, commenting on someone's body in a way that feels too intimate might be awkward. Gauge the level of closeness and familiarity you share before diving into deeply personal territory. And remember, there's a difference between admiration and objectification. If you're going to compliment her appearance, do so in a way that feels respectful and tasteful, focusing on something like her style choice or the confidence she exudes. From a Stoic lens, offering genuine compliments can be seen as an expression of virtue, specifically the virtue of justice, which involves giving people their due recognition. If she's truly talented, kind, or passionate, acknowledging those qualities is a way of honoring truth. You're seeing the good in her and reflecting it back in your words, which fosters positive connections. However, the Stoics would caution against becoming attached to how she receives the compliment. Offer your kind words freely, without expecting something in return or hinging your self-worth on her reaction. Now, what do you do if she responds modestly or even deflects your compliment? That happens sometimes. People get shy or they're not used to receiving genuine praise. Simply reassure her that you're being honest. You might say, "I totally mean it. I wouldn't say it if it weren't true." This helps reinforce that you stand by your words without pushing her to accept them if she's uncomfortable. Over time, she might grow more at ease with your authenticity. Another angle to consider is complimenting her character or mindset rather than just her looks or accomplishments. You could say something like, "I really appreciate how calm and level-headed you are when things get chaotic." It's rare to find someone who can keep their cool like that. This highlights her inner qualities, the stuff that truly defines her. Physical compliments can be nice, but compliments on personality or effort can resonate on a deeper level. Also, don't forget to vary the type of compliments you give. If every compliment you send is about her appearance, she might start to feel you're only interested in how she looks. Mix it up. Praise her sense of humor, her intelligence, her creativity, her dedication to her hobbies, or her empathy toward others. By recognizing different facets of who she is, you're telling her that she's more than just a pretty face or a single impressive trait. You're seeing her in a more holistic way. As you integrate genuine compliments into your texts, observe how it influences the flow of conversation. Often, she'll open up more about herself or reciprocate by sharing positive things about you too. That's the beginning of a positive feedback loop, where each of you feels seen, appreciated, and comfortable, showing more of who you are. And that loop can build real emotional intimacy over time. All right, we've just explored how sincere, specific praise can leave a lasting impression and elevate your texting game. Next, we'll talk about a text that hints at future plans, something that can turn casual chatting into anticipation of real-life adventures. Let's jump into that one now, hinting at future plans. Before we talk about the specific text, I want you to imagine what it feels like when someone casually mentions doing something together in the future. Maybe they say, "We should check out that new cafe sometime," or "We've got to go see that new exhibit, it's right up our alley." Doesn't that spark a tiny bit of excitement? Even if the plan isn't set in stone, the idea that someone is envisioning you two hanging out is often a pleasant surprise. That's exactly the power of hinting at future plans in your texts. Picture sending her a message like, "I was thinking, we should check out that new art gallery you mentioned sometime soon. I'm curious to see what all the hype is about." It's not an outright formal invitation, more like a casual nudge that says, "Hey, I'm interested in spending more time with you." This can pique her curiosity and get her thinking about what it'd be like to actually do something together beyond just texting. Why does this resonate psychologically? Because you're subtly signaling that you see potential for a continued connection. You're not just living in the moment with small talk, you're looking ahead, even if just a little. That sense of looking forward to something can add layers of anticipation and excitement to your dynamic. And if she's also interested, she'll respond positively, perhaps suggesting dates or times, or at least showing enthusiasm for the idea. Now, the key to making this work is to keep it light and not overly pushy, saying, "We should definitely go to that new pizzeria this week. Let's do Friday at 7 p.m. might feel too forward if you haven't established that level of closeness yet. Instead, phrase it in a way that gives her room to say yes or no without feeling pressured. Something like, "That new pizzeria you told me about has been on my mind. I'm game to try it if you're up for an adventure someday soon. No rush, though." This communicates interest but also respects her space. I'd love to hear from you. Can you recall a time someone hinted at a future plan with you and it made you feel all warm and fuzzy inside? Maybe it was a friend who said, "I can't wait for us to road trip together." Or someone special who mentioned traveling somewhere with you in the future. If you've got a story like that, share it in the comments. It's really uplifting to see how a simple hint about tomorrow can add brightness to today. From a Stoic perspective, there's an interesting balance here. Stoicism teaches us not to cling too tightly to future events, as the future is uncertain. But at the same time, it doesn't prohibit planning or anticipating enjoyable things. It simply reminds us to remain flexible and not become distraught if things don't go exactly as planned. So when you hint at a future plan, you're not saying, "I'm relying on this happening for my happiness." You're just saying, "Hey, this could be fun if it works out." That keeps you grounded while still being open to possibilities. Another reason hinting at future plans is powerful is that it shifts the conversation from purely digital to a hint of real-life interaction. A lot of texting can be just that, texting, without ever translating into tangible experiences. If you genuinely want to build a deeper connection, eventually you'll need to spend time together in person, or at least through a video call if distance is an issue. Dropping these hints is a way of gently steering the conversation toward that possibility. However, be mindful of her reactions. If she consistently avoids talking about any future plans, that might be a sign she's not interested or not ready. Respect that and don't push. The idea is to offer a friendly suggestion, not to corner her into a commitment she doesn't want to make. If she seems hesitant, you can step back and let the conversation flow naturally. Maybe the timing isn't right yet. Also, consider tying the plan to something she's mentioned before. If she raved about a new hiking trail, you could say, "That trail you mentioned keeps popping up in my feed. I'm dying to see what the fuss is about. We should tackle it one weekend if you're down." By doing this, you're showing that you not only remember her interests, but you also share them, or at least want to explore them. That kind of alignment can foster a sense of camaraderie. When she responds, pay attention to how enthusiastic she is. If she jumps at the idea and says something like, "Yes, that sounds awesome, let's do it," you're in a great position to move forward with setting a date or figuring out schedules. If she's more lukewarm, like, "Maybe, let's see," then gauge that as a sign to let the idea breathe before you push for a firm plan. Don't let your ego or excitement overshadow the fact that she might have other commitments or might need a bit more time to feel ready. If she does agree, follow through. Don't just let it hang in the air forever. Send a text a day or two later that builds on the plan, like, "Hey, I'm free Saturday afternoon if you still want to check out that cafe. No pressure if something came up. I'm flexible." That shows consistency and reliability, two qualities that are extremely attractive. If you consistently hint at plans and never follow through, she might doubt your sincerity or think you're all talk and no action. Ultimately, hinting at future plans is about offering a glimpse of what life could be like if you spend more time together. It's a gentle push toward creating memories instead of just texting about them. It's one of the final steps in bridging the gap between casual texting and a deeper connection that has the potential to flourish offline. Done right, it can build anticipation, excitement, and a sense that you're both co-creating something fun and meaningful. All right, we've now covered how to use these 7 types of texts to spark intrigue, laughter, care, and a sense of shared possibility. Next, we're going to pull it all together with a final Stoic mindset shift, tying everything up in a way that helps you approach not just texting, but all your relationships with a sense of calm assurance and genuine intent. Let's wrap this up in style, bringing it all together with a Stoic mindset. We've taken quite the journey, haven't we? From referencing memorable conversations to sharing laughter, sprinkling in mystery, offering genuine care, challenging each other playfully, giving heartfelt compliments, and hinting at future plans. Each one of these text types serves as a puzzle piece, and when they come together, they form a bigger picture of how to communicate with authenticity and a calm sense of self. Now let's layer on top of it the Stoic mindset that underpins this whole approach. First, let's recap the big idea. These texts aren't designed to manipulate or trick anyone into liking you. They're aimed at enhancing genuine connection by expressing who you are in a confident, composed way. Stoicism reminds us that we can't control how others react or when they decide to respond, but we can control the quality and intention of our messages. By focusing on being true to ourselves, whether that's through a thoughtful check-in, a funny story, or an invitation to embark on an adventure, we're showing up as our real selves. When you text someone from this mindset, you're not chasing validation. You're not in a flurry of anxiety over whether she'll respond within 5 minutes or 5 hours. Instead, you're sending messages that you feel good about, and you trust that the right person will appreciate them. And guess what? That sense of calm assurance is incredibly magnetic. People can sense when you're secure enough to let the conversation breathe without frantic overthinking. So how do we cultivate this Stoic calm in our day-to-day texting? One key strategy is to take a moment before you send a message. Literally pause. Ask yourself, why am I sending this? Is it because I genuinely have something to share or ask? Or is it because I'm anxious for a reply? If the reason is anxiety or the need for validation, take a breath and reflect on whether that text is necessary. Maybe you can refine it or wait until you have a more sincere reason to reach out. That small pause can make a world of difference. Another aspect of the Stoic mindset is practicing acceptance of whatever happens next. Let's say you send one of these messages, perhaps a playful challenge about guessing your weekend plans, and she doesn't respond, or she responds with one-word answers. It's easy to spiral into self-doubt or frustration, but Stoicism would remind us that her reaction is outside our control. We did our part by sending a thoughtful, genuine message. If she chooses not to engage, that's her prerogative. We can't force chemistry, and we certainly shouldn't let our peace of mind hinge on someone else's texting habits. In many ways, the Stoic approach is liberating. It frees you from over-analyzing every detail and second-guessing yourself into oblivion. By focusing on what you can control, your own authenticity, your own kindness, your own sense of humor, you'll find that conversations feel lighter and more natural. You're no longer weighing every word against the fear of rejection. Instead, you're stepping into your power, trusting that when you show up as you are, you'll attract the people who truly appreciate you. Now let's talk about consistency. Sending one or two great messages isn't enough to build a lasting connection. The real magic comes from a consistent pattern of sincere communication. Over time, she'll notice that you're someone who remains steady, someone who doesn't flip-flop between desperate texting and complete withdrawal. You remain centered, respectful, and engaging. That's what sets the stage for a deeper bond to form. Remember, these texts are just vehicles. They're not the entire relationship. Eventually, you'll want to translate that connection into real-life experiences, whether that's grabbing coffee, going for a walk, or sharing an adventure. The goal is to use texting as a bridge to meaningful in-person interactions, not as a substitute for them. Stoicism teaches us to be present and value face-to-face connections, because that's where true intimacy grows. Texting is just the appetizer, not the main course. At this point, I'd love to hear which of these text types resonated with you the most. Is there one in particular, like referencing memorable chats or adding a dash of mystery, that you're itching to try? How do you plan to incorporate a calmer, stoic vibe into your texting routine? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to see which approach clicks with you and how you might adapt it to your own life. As we wrap up, let me offer one last piece of advice. Keep things fun. Stoicism isn't about becoming emotionless or dull. It's about bringing intention and clarity to everything you do. So if you want to be witty, be witty. If you want to be affectionate, be affectionate. Just do it from a place of self-assurance rather than neediness. Life's too short to not express who you are, especially in something as personal as a text conversation. Thank you for spending this time with me, exploring these 7 texts and the Stoic mindset behind them. If you've enjoyed this, I'd be truly grateful if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss out on any future videos where we discuss how to live with more presence, more purpose, and more genuine connection. Your support means a lot. It keeps me inspired to share these insights and hopefully make a positive impact on your life. So here's your final takeaway. Remember that texting is an opportunity. Each message is a chance to show your true self, learn more about who she is, and build a bridge that can lead to something meaningful. Combine that with the calm, collected energy of Stoicism, and you'll discover that you don't have to chase, because what's meant for you will naturally be drawn in by your authentic presence. Wishing you the best in all your conversations to come. Take care, stay grounded, and keep shining that amazing light of yours. I'll catch you in the next one.